Okay, let's just jump right in. What if I told you the whole idea of having a job might soon be, well, obsolete? Sounds like sci fi, right? But seriously, the very foundation of our society is starting to shake. We've got to talk about what work even means anymore and what happens when it's gone.
So, to really get a grip on where we're headed, we have to get real about where we are right now. And the picture isn't pretty. Look at this. A massive 60% of people on this planet feel economically insecure. I mean, they're living with this constant fear that their job could just vanish.
And at the exact same time that this fear is spreading, the money is all flowing in one direction. Check this out. 65% of us live in countries where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. That gap isn't just big, it's getting wider every single day, and it's literally tearing our societies apart at the seams. And you know what happens when you combine all that fear and all that inequality? Trust just evaporates. Fewer than 30% of people feel like they can actually trust each other. Think about that. How are we supposed to fix any of our huge problems if we can't even trust our neighbors? So yeah, these aren't just statistics, right? They're warning signs. They're symptoms of a really deep crisis, showing us a world that feels like it's spinning out of control. And it makes you wonder, how did we get so far off track? It's wild because about 30 years ago, world leaders got together and made all these promises about building a better, fair world. But now the UN is basically screaming from the rooftops that we're dangerously off course. We're not just failing, we're actively going backwards. And the UN's new report really breaks it down. They call it the three deficits, which sounds a bit formal, but it's basically a perfect storm. You got this pervasive economic insecurity, right? Then you have entrenched inequality. And finally, the erosion of social trust. The scary part is they all feed each other. Fear makes inequality worse, and that inequality destroys trust. And without trust, well, good luck fixing anything. And if you need a number to really understand that inequality, here it is. Just since 2015, the top 1% have grabbed $33.9 trillion in new wealth. Let me put that in perspective for you. That is enough money to wipe out global poverty 22 times. So the issue isn't that we don't have enough money in the world. It's about who's holding all the cards. Okay, so while everyone's trying to figure out how to fix these massive systemic problems, something else is happening. A huge technological wave is about to crash over everything. And I'm talking about AI. This isn't just another app or a new gadget. This is a game changer that's rewriting the entire rulebook. For decades, the plan was always the same. I mean, since 1995, the global goal has been super simple: full and productive employment for all. That was the dream, right? The ultimate sign of a healthy society was that everyone had a good job. But here's the twist. What if that goal is now completely wrong? I mean, what if chasing jobs for all in an age of AI is not only obsolete, but actually dangerous? There's a growing idea that holding on to that old dream is actually what's holding us back. And that brings us to this really radical, kind of mind-blowing concept, a post-work civilization. Now, hold on, this isn't about everyone being unemployed and miserable. It's the opposite. It's a society where we've used technology to deliberately break the link between having a job and being able to survive. The goal is to free people from forced labor. So this is really the heart of the matter. We're at a crossroads with two totally different maps for the future. On one side, you have the decent work agenda. Let's fix the system we have, protect jobs, improve conditions. On the other side, you have this new post-work strategy, which says, forget fixing it, let's build something new. One path is about patching up the old boat. The other is about building a new spaceship.
Okay, so if we're seriously considering this post-work idea, we have to ask, what would that even look like? How do you design a society like that? What's the new social contract that makes sure this works for everyone, not just a select few?
And right now, the discussion is really boiling down to two main pillars. First, there's universal basic income, or UBI. Super simple idea. Everyone gets a regular check to cover their basic needs. It's a safety net, a floor nobody can fall through. Then you have universal basic services, or UBS. This is a bit different. The idea here is to make the essentials, think healthcare, housing, education, totally free for everyone, just taking them off the market completely. Of course, the first question everyone asks is, Great, but who's going to pay for all this? Well, get this. A tiny 2% global minimum tax on the world's billionaires could bring in around $250 billion a year, every year. So the money is definitely there.
All right, so we have these big ideas, but this isn't just an academic debate. This is a battle for the future, and there are some major players on the field. Let's take a look at who's on which side.
This chart lays it all out perfectly. You've got the global trade unions, the ITUC, fighting to protect workers' rights within the current system, the decent work camp. Then you have institutions like the World Bank, who are a bit more cautious. They prefer targeted programs for the poorest, not these big universal systems. But then you have this exciting new coalition of civil society groups and even countries like Spain and Brazil who are all in on the post-work vision, pushing for big, bold ideas like a global wealth tax. It's really the old guard versus the new.
And we really can't overstate how high the stakes are here. The historian Yuval Noah Harari puts it chillingly. He says, the biggest question of our century might just be, what do we do with all the people who are no longer needed by the economy?
Because the real nightmare scenario here, if we don't manage this transition properly, is the creation of what he calls a useless class. It's a provocative term, I know, but the idea is terrifying. It's not just about being unemployed for a while, it's about a huge chunk of the population becoming permanently unemployable because their skills are just obsolete. And this is so important to remember. This isn't just an economic crisis, it's a psychological one. I mean, think about how you introduce yourself. What's the first thing you say? I'm a, whatever your job is. For so many of us, our work is our identity, our purpose. To lose that is to lose a part of yourself, and that goes way deeper than just losing a paycheck. So if this is all so urgent, why are we moving so slowly? Well, the roadblocks aren't technological. The tech is already here. The roadblocks are ideological, political, and financial. You've got this centuries-old belief that your value comes from your productivity. You've got politicians who frame any social spending as a handout. And of course, you've got powerful corporate interests lobbying like crazy to keep things just the way they are. And this chart just says it all. Look at the lobbying money. For every single dollar spent by labor unions and public interest groups trying to make change, corporate interests spend $34 to stop it. That's a 34-to-1 advantage. It's no wonder things are so hard to change. So, when you put it all together, you realize we've been asking the wrong questions. This whole time, we've been told the story is humans versus robots. But that's not it at all. The real choice we have to make is much, much bigger. It really comes down to this. Are we going to be the architects of our future and plan a transition to a world of shared prosperity? Or are we just going to let it happen and drift into a future of chaos and social collapse? Because make no mistake, the technology is coming. The only thing we get to choose is what kind of world we build with it.